Hello everyone and welcome to the final lessons of this Unit 13. I am Giampiero Mazzocchi and today I will show you how the CAP has been translated in some countries that are the countries that are represented by you that have attended these video lessons. So we will see how the CAP has been implemented in Italy, Portugal, Romania, Greece, Cyprus, and what are the perspectives also for Ukraine. Um, yeah, um, just to provide a comparative overview, we are in front of six very different countries in terms of agricultural models, in terms of food systems, in terms of extension of the agricultural lands, and also in terms of challenges that these countries are facing. In Italy, we have an agricultural area of 12.6 million hectares with more than 1 million farms. That, in average, it means that the average dimension of the farms is 11 hectares. Here we have a very strong attention to quality products, to certification of origin for certain products. Along with France, we are the country with the highest number of certificated products in terms of PDO and PGI. And also we have very diversified agricultural models. Still, we face important challenges in terms of fragmentation of farming, increasing aging farmers. So, as I showed you in a previous lesson, the average year of the farmers is more than 55. It's around 60 years old. And also there is a very strong north-south divide in terms of competitiveness, in terms of also climate challenges, provided that in the south we have very severe problems with droughts and water scarcity. In Portugal, the agricultural area is 3.6 million hectares, while the average dimension is higher than Italy's, around 14 hectares. In Portugal, the main strengths are, again, traditional products, and there is also a very high potential for the expansion of organic productions. Still, the country is facing low productivity, droughts, and depopulation in certain inner areas. That is something that is very common also in Italy, where we have some inner areas that are depopulating at a very high rates. In Romania, the agricultural area is very similar to Italy, while the farms are much higher in number. So we have 3.4 million farms. That means an average dimension of 3.7 hectares. So the farms are smaller than Italy, and actually Romania is one of the countries in the European Union with the lower average dimension of the farms. In Romania, there are some strengths, some possibilities linked to large agricultural potential and also quite diverse production. The challenges here, as I have already said, is the extreme fragmentation of farming. Still persist subsistence farming, so it's not a kind of farming that is not specialized, that is not a professional farming, but is more for self-sufficiency of family and linked to so low productivity and low mechanization. In Greece, the average dimension of the farms is around 7 hectares, so it's much smaller in terms of million of hectares. We have less than half a million hectares compared to Italy, for example. But the country is really at the center of the Mediterranean basin, so we have strong quality productions. We have a quite diversified Mediterranean products, and also the particular geographical features of the country, so characterized by a very high number of islands, made the situation in Greece very complex, very complex. Also because the country is characterized by mountainous terrain, water scarcity, and also that translate also in small size of the farms. In Cyprus, that is the smallest country among the ones I have represented here. The agricultural area is just 18,000 hectares, only 35,000 farms, and the average dimension is close to Romanian dimension, so 3.5 hectares. Similarly to Greece, here the strengths are specialized products, and also there is a innovation potential. For example, for the introduction of water saving technologies. Um, Still, here there are some challenges linked to very small size of the farms, water scarcity, and land fragmentation that is due to the similar geographical conditions to Greece, so mountainous terrains, very high slopes, etc., etc. Um, Outside the EU, we are also looking at what is happening in Ukraine. Ukraine has a huge agricultural area because there are more than 40 million hectares. That is a huge dimensions, and indeed, the Ukraine is considered one of the most important country for the grain production. Here, the average dimensions of the farms is very high because we have 45,000 commercial farms with an average of more than 700 hectares. That is huge compared to other members in other countries in the current EU composition. Um, currently, the Ukraine is an EU candidate country, so it's not yet a member. But there are also some different kind of aids that European Union is already providing to Ukraine in order to help its entering into the European Union. Um, in Ukraine, there are some important strengths, for example, very fertile soils, the grain production, and the large scale of the farming. But still, obviously, Ukraine is facing dramatic challenges linked to the invasion, linked to the war, and also the accession preparation, that is the preparation of all the practices to enter into the European Union is not that simple. Also, there is a dual structure because you have at the same time very large farms, uh, and also you have a huge number of very small farms that still are not professional, that are more oriented on subsistence, self-sufficiency. That is very similar to what we have seen in Romania, and this is an aspect that characterizes a very high number of Eastern countries. Um, in terms of financial allocation of the CAP, let's have a look at the first pillar. and the payment rates. The highest budget in the countries that I have represented here is dedicated to Italy. Italy has 3.8 billion euros for the annually for the Pillar 1, and the average payment is around 270 to 290 euros per hectare. And the CAP here supports more than 740,000 farms. You have different situations. For example, Romania receives 1.9 billion euros. A similar amount is dedicated to Greece, while Portugal and Cyprus receive a lesser amount of resources due to their agricultural area, that is number of hectares that are eligible for their payments. As you can see from the column on average payment per hectare, the amount of payments that are paid per hectare vary slightly by member state. But currently there is a process ongoing in order to reduce these differences, um, either within the countries. So the objective is to set at the same level of payment per hectare at a country level, but also among countries. It is important for the European Commission to increase the average payment per hectare in the, for example, eastern countries. As you can see from this table, Romania receives around 200 euros per hectare. That is less than what is received in other countries. If we look at the pillar 2, so rural development for this current programming period, so 2021-2027, Italy received 10.7 billion euros, Romania 9.5 billion euros, etc., etc. Obviously, Cyprus received a lesser amount of resources due to the lower number of farms that are in the countries. Overall, the total CAP support varies significantly by country size and agricultural structure. Let's have a look a little bit more in detail to the 6 countries. So Italy is characterized by excellence and fragmentation. The key characteristics are high value production in terms of wine, olive oil, fruits, vegetables. We have a strong PDO and PGI tradition. PDO and PGI is an acronym for geographical indications. We have more than 300 products that are certified. We have a very diversified agriculture. We are sort of the leader of the agritourism concept. If you travel in Italy, there are a lot of agritourism all along the country. And also, there is a very high regional diversity. We have 20 regions with very, very different traditional practices, and also with very different geographical conditions and climate conditions. In the CAP, Italy has decided to focus on 5 eco schemes. There is a support for young farmers in order to increase the generational renewal. There is a very the water management is very stressed in the CAP because it's very critical in the southern part of Italy. There is a target for 2027 to achieve the 25% of organic farming lands. In Italy, despite the traditional practices, we have a very intensive models of agriculture in certain areas. So A very important aspect has been devoted to agro-environmental interventions in order to increase the biodiversity in agricultural landscapes. And also, Italy is one of the leader in Europe for the leader approach. Leader is the bottom-up approach in order to provide local development strategies. It counts around 200 legs. Legs are the local action groups in Italy. So there is a very strong territorial approach to agriculture and food policies. Still, there are some challenges. Generational renewal, the north-south productivity gap, and the climate change with the droughts in the south and flooding in the north, and the need for larger farm sites in order to increase productivity, in order to increase the adoption of certain technologies, and also to increase the efficiency of certain agro-environmental practices. In Portugal, the choices in the CAP have been focused on sustainability and resilience of the agricultural systems in order to adapt to the climate challenges. Uh, the country is characterized by Mediterranean and Atlantic climate. There is a unique agroforestry system that is the Montado system. That is a very particular system in which there is a breeding of animals inside permanent crops lands. So it's very particular and it shapes a very interesting agricultural landscape, especially in the southern part of Portugal. The small family farms dominate, but there is an interior depopulation issue. In the CAP, Portugal has focused on eco schemes for facing climate adaptation, to climate resilience, so through drought resistant varieties and more efficient irrigation. There is a strong focus on young farmers, on organic farming in order to grasp the high potential for this sector. There is a very interesting forest agriculture integration, as I mentioned, the Montado system, but also the stone pine systems, etc., etc. There are some challenges here in the countries that are linked to droughts, water scarcity, depopulation in the inner areas, small farm economic viability, the forest fire risks that are quite that are increasing their impact in the country, and the need for irrigation infrastructure. In Romania, as I have already showed, the objectives is to transition towards a more modernized agricultural systems due to the largest number of farms in EU, but and also to the extreme fragmentation of the farming. So there is a dual structure that is also common to Ukraine, where you have on one side a large number of subsistence farms, and on the other side you have some large commercial farms. Here, the strategic choice in the CAP have been on eco schemes in order to construct simple, accessible design for capacity building, in order to modernize the agricultural systems. Also here, the young farmers schemes have been adopted in order to attract new generation in agriculture. Also, one of the objectives is to strengthening cooperation through producer organization and to connect small farmers to markets thanks to market access. The challenges are mainly linked to semi-subsistence farming, so that translating to land fragmentation, low mechanization level, also difficulty to access the finances and the rural infrastructure gaps. So all these need for advisory service and training that, as I already shown you in the previous lesson, is one of the measures that are financed by the CAP. In Greece, quality and tradition are combined. Greece is one of the most important olive oil producer in Europe and also in the world. Uh, but the country is characterized by inland and mountain agriculture with a lot of family farms and traditional productions. Here, the CAP strategic choice have focused on olive sector, especially on the modernization, while at the same time preserving tradition, on islands and mountains in order to provide for specific support for constrained area. Also, one of the most important challenges is the water management. So the CAP has focused on make the irrigation system more efficient, and also the quality production, the maintenance of quality production has been uh, has received a lot of investments in the current CAP for the Greece. The challenge is here is the very small farm size, the water scarcity increasing, the costs linked to the logistic for mountainous and island territories. There is an aging farmer population and there is a tourism competition for resources. Let's think about, for example, water. When a very high number of tourists access one country, there are some competitions for the use for the same resource in this case the water. In Cyprus, the innovation is linked to the small scale farming that characterizes this country. Here you have a very intensive production, but also once again the water scarcity is a critical issue. In the country, you have specialized high value products. So the CAP strategic choices have focused on water management, on innovation, through, for example, precision agriculture and digital solutions, to quality production, to young farmers, and to renewable energy in order to grasp the solar potential for farming. And also, the challenges here are once again, as all the Mediterranean countries, the water scarcity, the small farm size that limits economies of scale, the high input cost, and the limited land availability. Also, given that Cyprus is at the center of the basin of the Mediterranean, it is exposed to climate change vulnerability. In Ukraine, as I already mentioned, the situation is that there is a preparing for accession of the country to the European Union. So it's a special case of a candidate country since 2022. So it's not yet a CAP beneficiary, but the country receives a pre-accession support through the IPA funds, that are the funds that support all the practices and processes to allow the country to enter in the European Union. As I show you, the country has 41 million hectares of agricultural land, so its agricultural sector, Ukraine agricultural sector is key for EU integration in order to increase food security, in order to increase the number of the tons of grain that are commercialized into the European Union. Also, commonly to Romania, there is a dual structure with large commercial farms and more than 4 million small household plots. One of the most interesting aspects of the soils in Ukraine is the Chernozem. Chernozem is a very, very fertile black soils. If you look search for Chernozem in Google, you will find um, very interesting photos showing the particular particular color of the soils in Ukraine. That means that the soil is very rich in organic matter. Um, Still, Ukraine is facing important impacts linked to war, also on agricultural sector. There are the 30% of agricultural land that are in conflict zones. The export routes are disrupted, infrastructures are damaged, and the EU opened markets to support Ukrainian agriculture. There are obviously huge and dramatic humanitarian concern, and also economic challenge for the recovery of the country, the recovery of the country. The preparation for the CAP comprehends the alignment with EU standards in terms of food safety, environment, animal welfare policies. There is a need for land market reform. Uh, Also, the producer organization should be improved in order to align with a more organized and integrated market as in the European Union. And also, it is important to assess the environmental baseline in order um, to put Ukraine in a similar path to other countries. Um, so in Ukrainian, there is the EU is supporting emergency funding for agricultural sector, is supporting technical assistance for standards alignment and trade preferences. There are also important opportunities for the accession, that is significant agricultural production potential for the European Union, and also other market outcomes and outputs for Ukrainian producers. Entering in the European Union will make more possible to modernize agriculture system in the Ukraine, and also rural development aspects could be enhanced through the accession to European Union. Concluding this lesson, we have seen that every country adapts the CAP to the national context. This is very important because I have already stressed a lot the fact that the CAP is regulated by a single regulation at European Union, but each country can adapt the regulation in order to respond to specific needs. The CAP is to a certain extent flexible in order to enable the countries to adapt their condition and their rules to the specific conditions. There are common objectives, but also very different pathways. We have seen that there are some common challenges across the countries that we have seen. There is a generational renewal need because the number of young farmers is critical everywhere. And also the climate change adaptation is very important as drought, water scarcity and extreme events are spread around the eastern countries and the Mediterranean countries that we have seen today. Also, the small farming future stress economic viability of the agricultural sector. So it is also important to balance through a higher average size of the farming in order to balance production and environmental. In order to balance economic objectives with environmental objectives, and also to consider social aspects linked to rural vitality and service provision. There are some successful strategies observed. Italy has focused on quality production and diversification, Portugal on climate adaptation and agroforestry systems, Romanian on cooperation to overcome fragmentation, the Greece to traditional quality products with modern marketing, Cyprus to innovation and technology in water management, and Ukraine in preparing comprehensive alignment while managing the crisis. All these aspects have an impact to multifunctional agriculture. So all countries recognize agriculture as more than food production. So agriculture is more than food production and can help to diversify rural areas and to make rural areas more vibrant and more attractive. Environmental services are increasingly valued into the CAP. So the rural development covers measures and interventions beyond the farming, and also the diversification has been demonstrated to create resilience for farming. And also, we have seen how the cultural heritage and food heritage and agricultural landscape are very important everywhere in these six countries. Uh, so in order to go to the final messages, so the CAP is not one size fits all policy. The CAP can be and must be adapted to each context. So the success of the CAP requires adaptation to local context. Both pillars, so direct payments and rural development, are essential for comprehensive support to the agricultural sector. Um, there are some important challenges, but there are also some important as well support frameworks to cope with challenges. And the multifunctional agriculture is the main pathway to sustainable and resilient rural areas. So this is the end of this cycle of video lessons. I thank you very much for your attention, and I hope you the best.